Hi, and welcome to the Personal Side of Business, where every business has a story. I'm your host, Bunditwong. Today, my guest is Paul Ramirez. We're going to hear about his inspiring journey through his business, Speedi Rooter Plumbing and Drain, here in San Diego since 2018. He's going to tell us of his story of early hardships, his work ethic, and entrepreneur spirit. Welcome to the podcast, Paul.
Good morning. Good morning, Jet.
Morning. So tell us, how did we get here?
Well, my early life, just a quick synopsis of it. Grew up with very little, raised by a hardworking mother. Became a father at 15. Entered the restaurant industry to support the family. Developed a strong work ethic within that, from my grandparents and my mom. Being a single mom, it's tough to raise 4 boys. Yeah. So you got to work on a constant basis. So that work ethic has been there since the get-go. Just a little bit about getting into the plumbing part of it all. Learned plumbing from an older mentor. His name has been so long now. It's been a while. Older gentleman. And he got me in there for about a year. I learned how to do some plumbing, some pool plumbing at that. And I asked him one day, hey, can you make money doing this? And he said, absolutely, if you do it right and you learn right. And I said, okay, well, that's what I want to do. Being in the industry of the restaurant part of it all, you could only go so far unless you become an executive chef. And I knew that wasn't the route I wanted to take growing up in the restaurant business. So with that being said, I jumped into a conversation with an old friend of mine, and he says, hey, they're hiring at a company called Speedi Rooter Sewer and Drain in my hometown. And I said, okay, well, I'll go and apply. So I applied, and the gentleman, the owner, his name is Chris. He gave me the opportunity to come and work for him. And it was a long shot, but once I got my feet wet, I loved it. It was something that was very intriguing to me. And it wasn't about the money at that time. I think it was more of the fact that getting into a trade where you're not stuck in one spot, you get to move to different places. And I like that. It breaks the monotony of the everyday life of being in one spot.
It fulfilled a lot of different checklists for you, right? You get to move around, you make good money. Meet people.
Yes. So he said, okay, so when can you start? And I was like, all right, I'll start tomorrow. And he said, well, let's start you next week. And so I said, okay. I worked with him and my supervisor, Leo, and my lead, Bill, Mr. Woodman, trained me in a lot of these areas. They trained me how to dig up sewer lines, find sewer lines, clean drains. And that's really where I started for the next 5 years, was just drain work. Never really did any major plumbing. And then went on from there.
Was there a point in those 5 years, first 5 years, that you knew that you were going to have your own company?
Yes. I think after the first 3 years, I figured out how much money I was making this guy per year based on the money that was in my pocket. And it was a lot of money for a 19-year-old, 18, 19, 20-year-old. So I said, well, okay, well, if you could do it, let me try. So my end goal of working with him was to create my own plumbing business. At least start out, doing drains and minor plumbing, because at that time I didn't have a license. So I started it, and the company was called, I eventually launched up my first plumbing company, which was Gold Coast Sewer and Drain in the early 90s. And that was tough. Because it wasn't about, just drain cleaning. It was about paying bills. It was about, staying on track, and it was just me at the time. So purchasing equipment, parts, having a van, having an office. So all these day-to-day expenses I wasn't used to, not even growing up, because I didn't, number one, when you never taught how to handle finances, and I'll get into that a little later, but once nobody shows you how to make a $10 stretch, like I know now I can make a $20 stretch in a week, like nobody's business. But in the beginning, I had no clue. So it was very tough learning that process. And it's not about just the trade getting into it, but it's learning the different aspects about running a business, the law, the liabilities, all the insurances you need, and so forth. So,
what were some of the tools or people that you went to in order to learn those processes, or were you just figuring it out on your own?
it was a trial and error basis back then. It was tough. I was very meticulous on my work, so I knew that when I was doing my work, it was going to be good and it wasn't going to fail. And I would even go back at nights when I would do certain things and just double check, okay, did I do a good job? Yeah. And it was fine. So I'm very meticulous on that end. So I knew as long as I keep that consistency throughout my career, it would do me well.
Yeah.
It would suffice me.
Did you have any mentors after when you went into your own business? Did you reach out to certain people that would help you and this is a tip for you that you should do this?
On the business side, no, but on the trade side, yes.
Okay.
I would always contact my former supervisor because he went out on his own after 15 years of being with that company. So I would call Leo and ask him, hey, Leo, how do you handle this? What do you do this? And, well, this is how you do it. And he would walk me through it. But a lot of the times I would not like to bother anybody because they got their own business to run.
Yeah.
And I was young and I was like, I could do this. I just got to figure it out, so.
So you were mid-20s, now getting into your own business, didn't know the business side of it. How long was the period from when you felt like this is chaos business-wise until you started feeling comfortable and say, okay, I'm starting to understand where this should go, what I should put in place in order to make this function?
It's funny because I think it was towards the end of that season of Gold Coast Sewer and Drain is when I was really starting to get the hang of things. I was the whole office mentality was starting to come to me, like files and getting my liability in line, understanding the whole liability side of what's covered and what's not, looking forward to hiring somebody to come in and help me. I think it was more towards the end of that. I want to say probably maybe 5 to 8 years later.
Oh.
Yeah, really. And then I went through a divorce, so I stopped and moved. So I sold that business just to get out of town and said, you know what, I'm good. So
So you had a life-changing event and a business-changing event,
Yes.
and then started over in
Yes.
someplace else.
yes. So I moved to Denver, and a friend of mine asked me, hey, I'm starting up a DJ business out here, a franchise, and I want to know if you want to be a part of the franchising side of it all. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll give it a shot. I'll try it out. So I moved out there. So within all of that, I was still plumbing because when I moved to Denver, I got hired by 3 different plumbing companies because of my experience, and they gave me what I wanted in my hourly and my commission. So I was grateful, but I had to pick between the 3. So I picked one and did very well. Something happened to their company. They closed down. So I jumped to another one. They hired me, and I was making good money and I was doing very well. At the same time, I was helping the franchise guy out, my buddy. And so I never really stopped plumbing, but I also made money in the evenings with the DJ business. And then he opened up a store based off one of his franchises that he bought there in Denver, Colorado. And I became their national district music coordinator. So I did all their music libraries, put all their systems together, and basically helped them that in. And then it took away from the plumbing side. So the second company that I went to said, you're not spending enough time with me, so I need to hire another person, so I'm going to let you go. So I moved to another one, and then that worked out. That worked out really well. And then, so I think I worked for probably 4 different plumbing companies in Denver, all making good money.
And did you felt like each company you gained some different knowledge that had made you better? Okay.
Absolutely. For every time I jumped a company, I learned the ins and outs and the do's and the don'ts of business, how they did timekeeping, how they work with their service techs, how they moved around their service techs, how they issued parts, how they kept quality control of parts in their vehicles. So I learned, so it wasn't a bad thing. I think it was a good thing. And I look back at the moment, it was like I was going through hell and high water. But in the long run, now that I look back at it, it was really good for me because it taught me where I came from, what I went through, and where I'm going. That whole perspective is like, oh my gosh, dude, you learned so much just in that little bit of time. At least it seemed little, but it was a long period of time. But it was really good. It was really.
Were you focused on that? Were you trying to absorb information, knowing or having a goal that you were going to open up the business again one day?
I never thought I was going to open another plumbing business again. Yeah, no, I wasn't in that track. I think I was just in survival mode, you know. But at the same time, still thriving. But I don't know, it's like an oxymoron. I guess you could say I'm thriving, but yet I'm in survival mode. But I was doing very well.
Financially, like you were getting
financially,
paid,
I was doing well, but emotionally and physically, you know, mentally, I was not. Yeah. So for me, it was a good time of personal reflection, and where I was and where I came from and where I was going. So then, you know, with all that being said, back in the franchise world, I stopped plumbing for like a few months, and then I helped out my buddy in the franchise side. So I got my feet wet for about a year and a half in the corporate world, and then I got back into plumbing again because I missed the money. Because the money is always the factor. But a lot of my focus was in the franchise world for the next 5 years on top of plumbing. I've always been a workaholic. Yeah. So I've always had one or two jobs, even, you know, before I was always dabbling in this and network marketing, selling cards here, doing this here. And
because it doesn't seem like money is a driving force for you. It's there sitting there, but I think for you it's keeping busy.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. It's always about keeping busy. I don't know what, and the biggest question everybody always asks me, and my wife tells me, well, you're going to retire in 10 years. Well, what am I going to do? She goes, well, we're going to travel. No, what are we going to do? You know, so I can't sit still. I always have to be doing something, you know. So I stayed in the franchise business, figured out with them how to do specific things in the franchise world. That really helped me on the business side because I got a whole different perspective of what business really is in the long term. So if I ever wanted to franchise, and I'll get to that towards the end, I want to know how. I want to know the ins and outs. So my buddy, Rick says, well, whenever you decide later on down the line that you want to franchise or start another business, and let's do it. So I helped him with AMS franchise. I also helped him with All About Honeymoons, which is a destination travel industry franchise. So I became their first franchise owner there, did very well. I did pretty good. I shouldn't say very well. I did pretty good in that one. But from that point, I basically wanted to move back to California. I said, I need to go back home. My kids were here, and I needed to blend everybody back together again. So I woke up one morning and, you know, it's time to go and let's go back home. So I stopped doing that. I sold my franchise, my All About Honeymoon franchise, back to the corporate office. They resold it. And then told my buddies from the plumbing business, hey, I got to go. I love y'all, but, you know, peace out. I got to go back home.
And what had this been about almost 10 years that you moved away?
This was almost 6 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, almost 6 years. So with that being said, I moved back, stayed with my cousin in Ventura for a little while, went back into plumbing, worked for a plumbing company in Ventura, did a lot of work for them in Ventura. And the funny thing about plumbing with me is it's like riding a bike. Once I got on it, it's like I never left. Yeah. It just came right back to me. So it's like, maybe I should just stay in this field. So I decided to move up to San Diego in 2000, the end of 2005. It was almost 2006. Yeah, roughly around that time. And then I moved up here figuring, okay, well, how am I going to get to work? What am I going to work? How am I going to do this? Buddy started a church, so I came up here and helped him. So I said, all right, well, Lord, if I'm supposed to be here, give me a job and give me a place to live. Well, 2 weeks later, I got a place to live and 3 job offers. So it was amazing. So with that being said, I picked the one that I wanted that gave me what I wanted. And got here, started moving. I guess you can say, trial and error, just learning the trades and learning where I was and staying a student and always wanting to do better for myself. I stayed in the industry. Come around 2011, I took a little break from plumbing. I was like, I'm getting tired of it. My knees were starting to hurt me. I was about 300 pounds, and I was like, I can't do this no more. Body was taking a toll on me. So I decided to start a cleaning business. I seen these other businesses thriving in the cleaning industry, and my brother's like, yeah, you could do it. He had his business for the last 30-something years, and he's doing very well. And I tried it. I say it was probably the worst mistake I've ever done in my life because of it's very competitive. I got to say that number one competitive industry is cleaning, commercial and residential. So I learned a lot with that. I learned that I had 21 employees, which is the most I've ever had. I learned how to deal with all the different personalities. And this goes back to the full circle of learning the business side of it all. So for me, it was learning personalities, learning what workman's comp truly means, learning what the whole law side of business, whatever trade you're in, you still got to know the law, man. You still got to really understand your side of it as an employer. And on the flip side, understand the employees side of it all. So those years, I really learned what to do and not to do in business. Didn't have to be plumbing. Yeah. It just so happened to be in an industry that I really didn't do well in. I made a lot of financial mistakes. I spent a lot of money that I shouldn't have. I listened to people. I can help you here. I can help you there on social media. Never really got anything out of it. So I lost a lot of money. I would always pay my employees first and me last. So I got the bottom end of the barrel of the bucket, so I was living paycheck to paycheck, man. Wow. So I finally said, you know what? And right before that, COVID hit. So before all this really even happened and before me even transitioning back into plumbing, COVID hit. And in the process, it's funny how God works because he allowed me to really figure out, okay, dude, what are you doing? You need to get perspective on your life. You need to do some soul searching, figure out what you really want out of all of this. And how are you going to leave a legacy for anybody if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing in the industry you're supposed to be doing it in, right? So for me, it was like, what do I got to do? And then God put in my mind, it's like, in my heart, it's like, dude, what have you been doing all these years that you've been really good at financially, and you've been steady and it? It's like riding a bike. And it reminded me back when I got back on the horse again in plumbing, it's like it never left me.
What was it? What was it about plumbing up until that point that you knew you were good at, you knew you could make money at, but something kept on drifting away and coming back? What do you think was that element that was like missing for you at that up until that time?
I think it was just the satisfaction of completion, of knowing when you do something and it's completed and you're doing it. Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense, but to me, it's like when you give me a water heater and I pull out the old one and I put the new one in and I strap everything up and put the expansion tank and put the new supply lines and the drip leg and the whole enchilada. It's a gratification of like completion, like what you accomplished. To me, it's like every job is completed at the end of that segment. And the fact that I was moving in different places, not always in the same spot. So I think that's really what it is, the place of being complete.
So now that you're seeing it as a overall thing with the business, because now you're trying to make the business complete, finish that up. It's not these little projects anymore. It's really this whole thing that trying to get more employees, make the business work, all this financial stuff, right?
Yes.
And do you think you could have gotten to this point of running a successful business without those, almost 15 years now, I'm guessing, of experience and learning all this? You think someone can come into the trades and go, okay, I got 2 years under my belt, I think I can run a successful business? You think there's a high chance of that happening, or you think there has to be a certain amount of years?
I think that your track record would speak for you. So what if you take heed on everything that you've done and learned through life, it always is going to make you a better person. In business, I think if you look at all your failures and you're not refailing the same thing, and I have a saying is, my stepping stones are my failures are my stepping stones for my future. So whatever I failed in, I'm stepping that on again so I can be better at it the next time and I don't fail. For the person that is coming into the trade, let me back up a little bit here. When COVID hit, I never graduated high school on top of all that. So I got my GED during COVID.
Wow.
Okay. So for me, that's out of 25 years I've been in school, that was a tremendous accomplishment for myself. My wife says, yay. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I turned around and looked at her and said, okay, now honey, since I'm getting back into plumbing, I'm going to get my contractor's license. She looked at me and said, are you crazy? Are you sure? You know how hard it was for your GED? I'm like, hey, but I know plumbing. Yeah. Plumbing's, it's a niche that I've always known. Okay, hon, let's do it. So I studied and studied and studied, thinking that, okay, well, I got to make sure I get it all down, including the law and the business and the trade. Passed it the first time.
Wow.
In October. So I got my GED at the beginning of October. I got my contractor's license at the end of October of COVID. So, of 2020. So, for me, those two right there told me, set the pace for me that I could do it. So for me to pass the law in the trades industry, that alone, and some people say, that's easy. The trade's harder. No, let me correct you. The law's harder than the trade, because the trade is easy because you've been doing it hands-on. Law part, if you don't know nothing about it and don't have a good foundation or even a track record of things learned in the past, you'll never know how to deal with law or the issues that come along with the laws of owning a business, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. And I think in the state of California, there's a lot more regulations from what I understand compared to different states. Yes. So for a business, and I don't think that's just business wise too. I think that's also for trades and things like that. I feel like if you can get yourself set in a lot of the foundational stuff with the law, permits, regulations, understand that in California, it gives you such room to breathe because you've gotten that stuff behind you. Now I can concentrate on the clientele, the growing the business, right? Where I think, and there's so many people in Southern California, especially, that you could have this great opportunity. I mean, there's competition as well.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you felt like have separated yourself and your company from other plumbing businesses?
I mean, there could be a lot of different factors. For me, it's honesty and integrity. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. If you can't do it, don't do it. If you can do it, great. I think a lot of it has to do with who you are. your character in the industry. For me, what sets us apart is we are a almost debt-free company. And I say that because I just bought another company van. I think a lot of companies get stuck. And I don't know who they are, but I believe sometimes it's really hard to advance in the industries if you owe a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then it makes things very much harder to give your techs what they want in the sense of hourly and commission because you're so strapped. I told myself once I got this license, I would never be that way again. And for me and my wife, we started doing the Dave Ramsey course, and that has been amazing because not only did we do it in our personal life, we're debt-free in our personal life. We have no debt except for our house, and we're almost paid off with our house. But we now, with that being said, we're doing it in addition to the back of our house because we have a little more money now to spend to expand our house. So with that being said, that really showed us and showed me on the personal side. If I could do it on my personal side, I could do it to my business side. So I implemented the same structure for Dave Ramsey personal into our business. Our parts houses, we don't owe anything. I pay them off every month. I just paid off one of our company trucks. Our second vehicle is almost paid off. So everything for us has been really good. And I think that alone, it frees us up to be a little bit more free towards our service techs and be a little bit more less stressful and say, no, I can't give that to you. And I think that's where the retention really helps, to keep the retention down or to keep the
attrition.
The people in is to be able to say, okay, well, here's a little bit more money. I can give that to you because I have it to give. As some, and I've spoken to a few guys and they're like, I'm strapped, bro. I'm strapped. I can't, and I even need to lay some guys off, but I don't want to get to that point. Whatever God, and before this, I would always tell God, is that God, I don't want to limit you because I would limit him, but now I don't. It's like whatever you have, I'm willing and open. Number one is the bottom line, Jed, is we're stewards of whatever he gives us. We're not the owners. We're just stewards. We're just somebody that's managing what he's given us. So for us, we have to be in that mindset across the board. So we're in agreement. Me and my wife was like, hey, we're stewards, man. So we're going to take care of whatever God gives us.
And I think your employees and working harder, I would guess, right? If you're treating them better financially, culture-wise, I mean, knowing you for the amount of years, I'm going to take a guess that you aren't rough with your employees, that you actually try to understand because you've been in that position for so long, and you're trying to grow a good business and not just pay guys and get them out and then move them on, right?
Yeah, it's all about relationships, Jack. And it's and I got to give B&I too because this is what's really helped me grow in that relational side, not only from my past, but it's nurtured the gifts that I do have already to get them to where they need to go in the direction they need to go. Am I 100% there yet? No, nobody will ever be. But for me, and my guys, you can interview any one of them from my dispatcher down. They'll tell you it's like, no, he's a generous guy, and whatever I have, I'll give. As long as it's within the purpose. If there's some purpose behind it, absolutely, you got it. But if it's for fun and games, no. But if it's for purpose, your family needs it, you need it, absolutely. If you need anything, I'm there, and they know that. And you can ask them.
That's great. I think that's, and I feel like everyone listening to this wants to do that, right? They want to just like, I want to be generous with my guys, but I think it starts from what you're talking about. You have to implement these structure and foundational assets into the business so that it can get there, right?
Yes.
Can you give maybe 2 pointers of what you've done, I think, financially to make sure that the business is debt free, or something that you've implemented that stretches out so it doesn't ever get into this crazy debt?
Budgeting. Budgeting is huge. And I learned that through not only my wife, but through Dave Ramsey, his whole process. Once you learn how to budget, things get paid off real easy, and it frees you up financially to do whatever you want. Cash on hand is always key, versus a credit card, a debit card. And I think that has really helped us.
Yeah. And there's a Dave Ramsey techniques. Does it always apply to business? Can you do that, or is it mainly more for personal life, and then you just happen to apply it to your business?
No, they have courses for businesses now, and I know they've had them for a while. I just didn't know that.
Oh, wow.
But since I was already in the courses and we became teachers of the courses, we learned, okay, why wouldn't it work in business? If it works for our personal life, why wouldn't it work in business? It should. And then I find out he already has courses for business. They were just expanding them and growing them before they even put them out. But now they're out. You can implement it in your personal life and in your business.
Yeah.
In any kind of business, for that matter.
Does any of the techniques apply to, let's say, a business owner that is 40 grand in debt? Can they start to dig themselves back out?
Absolutely. This is a funny thing. You talk about this, Jet. My credit score after I came back was 361.
Wow.
Okay. So my credit score now, I think it's like 712.
Wow.
By doing the Dave Ramsey course. So I was three cards debt before I started the Dave Ramsey because of the cleaning business.
Yeah.
Because I needed to get a credit card to help pay payroll.
Yeah.
I had to get loans to help pay payroll because it started to trickle down and we started losing accounts and I needed to pay payroll. So, and that's where all the learning came into play. Like, dude, what are you doing? You can't do that no more. That's not going to happen. That didn't help you before. It's not going to help you now. So, with that being said, that's kind of where we ended up, learning all of that.
And that's quite amazing to go through that and be able to come back, because I think a lot of times you run into business owners that get into debt or some sort of financial mistake with the business, and then they're so scared off to ever get into it. They think it's complete bad, right? And I always have this saying, and I don't know if there's no stat to prove this, but I always feel like your third or fourth business is where you start to really figure things out and thrive, because you have to make mistakes. I think the beginning, that first business that everyone opens to, there's so many mistakes you're going through, like you mentioned, because most times you're on your own and you don't know to connect with people, learn from people, get mentors, and start to dig in. And then now I think in 2025, there's so much available information for people to look up and, am I doing this right? Should I be doing this? We have AI now that's giving you some techniques and imagine if you would have had that in your first business. There might have been some tools that could have stopped you from doing this wrong, and like I don't know when you open your first business if there was a lot of different software like it is now, right? So you get to take advantage of like maybe CRMs and keep people in line. You can keep track of it. Well, how were you keeping track of customers the first time you opened up?
I think the first time, was
it pen and paper?
No, it was pen and paper, but it also was straight invoicing.
Wow.
Just paper invoicing with numbers on them. And then I would save them and I would file them by invoices. And my grandmother and grandfather did that for years in the restaurant business for food tickets. Yeah. For years, all the way up till probably the last 10 years of the business. Yeah. And then they went automated.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What are some softwares that you think have been really helpful for you as a business owner now with your plumbing business?
For me, well, obviously, QuickBooks is number one. It's user friendly. And then for our software, for our CRM side of it, we use House Call Pro. Mm-hmm. I tried Skyboss. Skyboss got bought out by House Call Pro, and it's been amazing. It's been really good. It offers so much variety, from answering phones to invoicing, to emails, to email campaigns, to scheduling. Keeping track of where my guys are. Even they have these new GPS things now to put in the vehicles that they overlap with each other, and it's amazing. Now, granted, I think if this was all back in the early 80s or late 80s and early 90s, I don't think I would be here today. I'll tell you why. Because if I didn't learn and I didn't go through everything that I went through, if they would have gave it all to me right away, I would have destroyed myself. Because I had no sense, back to then, I had no sense of value of dollar, what a dollar meant. Didn't know how to save a dollar, didn't know how to budget a dollar, didn't know how to make a dollar stretch. As soon as I get a dollar, it's gone. And now within minutes when I run to the store and go buy me a piece of Hershey's chocolate. So I think that the way life processes everything, I think it was perfect timing for me. I really do, because I would have destroyed myself. I would have made too much money. Would have went probably a different avenue. Who knows where I would have been?
Yeah,
totally. But I think as life allowed me, as the way it was meant to go, I think I learned so much through not only business but just life in general to get to where I'm at today.
And I think that's one of the interesting things is your point. And I feel like you've been talking about this without actually hitting it on the nose too much. Is you became a better business owner through all your trials and errors and learning from different people, connecting in different industries, pretty much. But I think you also went away and figured yourself out and came back. And I think that probably helped you become a better business owner without realizing it, right? Like if you would have had that same mindset where you said you were kind of lost and trying to figure things out, and then coming back to California, if you would have been in that mindset, there's probably a good chance that the business doesn't do as well because you're not focusing. You don't get the ability to focus on something else. You're like trying to figure yourself out.
That's correct.
What were some of the things? I think now we're getting to a little bit personal side. Mm-hmm. What were some of the things that you think you did holistically to make yourself into a better person to be able to function better as a business owner?
I think for me it was probably what could I nail it down to? Probably one thing, just going back to church, give myself back to God. Making Lord Jesus Christ my Lord and Savior again. So,
did it? And how was the support after you started coming back to California and being able to get everything in place? Did you feel like that was there as well? Friends and family, they were like, yeah,
very supportive. Yeah. They actually wanted me back here. It was probably the most healthiest thing I've ever done for myself.
Yeah. And now, as we're wrapping up, if someone's trying to get into this industry right now, what would your advice be for that 19-year-old or that is now trying to get into plumbing and in the trades? What would you tell them? Some steps that would make them successful?
A little advice to inspire some of these trade people that want to come in at a young age. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Specific trades have always been specific trades for a reason. It's the way they were built. The service trade, service and repair, HVAC, electrical, construction, you name it, whatever trade it is, it's already started. All you got to do is just add to it. Make it your own, but a lot of people try to, recreate how a service industry is supposed to be. I think you just make it yourself, make it your own, the way you would like it to be. But the main part, don't try to recreate the wheel. They've all been built on proven strategies and logistics and that kind of stuff. But number two, I would say, be prepared to lose people along the way. And that could mean employees. That could mean friends. Not everybody will be willing to stay on the journey. You'll lose people during different seasons in business. Some goods, some bads. Some ones that you wish you could keep for the next 25, 30 years. And some do. Some stick around because it's all about the culture. How you create the culture is what people love. They don't want to be mistreated. They want to be loved and honored and with dignity. So for me, that's number two. Number three would be accept every part of your journey. Don't just, and what I mean by that is remember where you came from, and embrace the journey. Embrace it to where you learn from it. Don't go back to it, but learn from it and move forward. It's what shapes you to who you become. I'm very, very simple guy when it comes to that. And, keep family number one, because they're your biggest supporters. And do what you love. If you love doing a specific thing, do it. I think plumbing is what I love. I just kind of felt like, maybe I should try something else. Maybe I should try this. But I always came back to something that I truly love doing. And I didn't figure that out until latter years of my life.
That's great.
And it wasn't about the money. It was about something I truly loved doing. The satisfaction of making people happy. And as long as they're happy and they're willing to call me back, hey, that's a trade I want to be in for the rest of my life. And the biggest thing is always do it with the intentions of leaving a legacy for your families.
That's great. It's an amazing way to end off. Paul, if people want to find you and Speedi Rooter, where can they find you?
Well, we're right here in Chula Vista, California, in the outskirts of San Diego. We travel all over. We're state licensed, so we'll go wherever. We're at 619-320-1428. Give us a call. We'd love to help you out.
All right. Thank you so much, Paul. Amazing story. Great guest. This is the personal side of business.
Thank you for having me.